Hey, hey, it's your girl, Tiffany Starr. Welcome back to my channel. And tonight I'm going to be doing a review on Tina Turner's My Love Story, her last memoir. If you don't know, the first one is I, Tina, back from the 80s, but this is her latest book. Now, I want to say, before I start, rest in peace, Tina. We love you. RIP to one of the greatest, if not the greatest, entertainer to ever grace the stage. Ever. I'm going to start with my top 15 revelations in this book. I was going to do 10, but it's Tina Turner, right? I mean, how can you just do 10 things? You can't, it's really hard to narrow that down. So I'm going to do the top 15 things without trying to give away too much of the book. Because we already know a lot about her life. And so it's, I'm going to give you 15 things that I found to be, profound. So let's jump right in. The first thing, which is very shocking, Tina suffered with illiteracy. There's another singer that I really like. She's an R&B singer, Fantasia. There are a few entertainers who have this issue. I don't want to call them out if they haven't called themselves out, but Fantasia Barrino has come out and said, I can't read. I have trouble reading. I have trouble counting. I have trouble learning new things. Well, Tina Turner speaks about her struggles as a child. She said that she was not very efficient with reading or writing, counting, and math. She hid this from her teachers and her friends. And later on, she hid this from her managers and her fans. So that was pretty mind-blowing. She was very insecure and embarrassed by this. And also I see that she constantly tried to better herself and learn new things because of that. And I give her credit for that. And most of the time, we're either blessed to be talented or super smart, right? It's very rare that you get it all. So I think that she obviously improved as she lived her life, and but I found that to be very interesting. There's an incident in the book where she's called to the board as a child, and the whole classroom is laughing at her because she obviously didn't know the answer. The teacher didn't step in. I don't know why. Why do they do that, right? They see that you don't know, and it's like they set out to embarrass you. It's crazy why teachers do that. I don't know. To me, a good teacher would never do that. But I'm going to move on to number 2. Number 2 is Tina's great abandonment. We all know about her being abandoned by her mother. But actually, Tina was abandoned by everyone for the most part. She was abandoned by her boyfriend in high school. She was abandoned by, later on, her baby father, Craig's dad, Raymond Hill. But we'll start with her mother, because I think that's the greatest pain of her life, throughout her life and throughout the book. She knew that her mother didn't really love her because she grew up watching her mother and father fight. And her mother didn't like her father. And so her mother happened to be one of those women who then didn't like the child. unfortunately. How awful, right? Um, she didn't feel loved by her mother, her beloved sister, Aline Bullock. She recalls watching her mother comb her sister's hair, and she would do so with love in a tender way. Um, and she said that her sister's hair was a lot straighter and softer than hers. And Tina herself, she had wool hair, woolly, um, coarse, kinky, or as we say in the Black community, just straight up nappy. So she recalls her mother not being as patient with her or loving while combing her hair. She would tug at the comb and pull. And it reminds me of that scene in the movie The Color Purple. Ironically, Tina was offered a role in that movie as Shug Avery. Could you imagine how amazing Tina would have been as Shug Avery? Margaret Avery did an incredible job as Shug Avery. So did Taraji P. Henson in the new adaptation of The Color Purple. But in the original, Tina Turner was offered the role of Shug Avery. So it reminds me of that scene in the movie where Celie is doing their Mister's daughter's hair. And she's, it hurts. Every Black girl knows that feeling, getting your hair combed or braided as a little girl. And we know if you love us or if you don't, based on how you treat us with that comb. And her mother was not very nice to her. She also, as a child, she grew up poor, though she doesn't say that in the book. I guess she considered herself to be more so struggling working class, because she did say that she never really missed a meal, though they worked in the fields. Tina picked cotton as a child. Her father was an overseer, so I found that to be pretty fascinating as well. 3, her first love, Harry, in school, right? He's a Black guy, really pretty. As she calls him, pretty. I think Tina was into the pretty boys. Harry Taylor, as I said, he abandoned her. He took her virginity. And he did so in the back seat of a car. When I think of that, I think of her song, Steamy Windows, which is one of my favorite. I'll get to that later. So when she sings that song, Steamy Windows, trust me, she knows what she's singing about. She lost her virginity in the back seat of a car to a Black boy named Harry Taylor, who would go on to break her heart by impregnating another girl in school. And he married her. So Tina was really, really heartbroken by that. Harry, ironically, happens to be the name of my father as well. So I know how those Harrys can be. So during this part, growing up in Nutbush city limits, a town that we've never heard of. If it wasn't for Tina, we still would have never heard of it. A town that no one has heard about, right? And then she makes the song, and we all know what it is. And we instantly think of Tina Turner when we think of Nutbush city limits. So as a Southern country girl, she grows up there in Tennessee, and I just want to speak briefly. I'm going to move on to 4 of her inspirations, her idols growing up in the book. She really idolized the fellas. She loved the men more than the females, and you can hear it on those early records. She sounded like James Brown, the yells and the growls and the screams. I mean, she had it down pat. I mean, she nailed it. So she idolized Sam Cooke, Ray Charles, James Brown, Jackie Wilson, Roberta Tharpe, some females, Mahalia Jackson, and last but not least, Wilson Pickett. Shout out to Wilson Pickett because we have the same born day, 3/18, March 18th. Team Pisces. So that's very important, when you think about influences and inspiration. Tina is one of my greatest inspirations. So, of course, I had to just name a couple of hers. 5. I want to speak about her abandonment. So her mother left her, took her sister with her, moved to St. Louis. She lived with her grandmother. She worked for this white family, the Hendersons, a white woman named Connie Henderson that she really, really took to and she really adored and loved. Why? I don't know, because when her mother abandons her, this white family doesn't even take her in. She almost begs them for shelter, and they told her no. And of course, this is a really time in American history when segregation and racial tensions are at a height. So her mother's in St. Louis, her sister's in St. Louis. She lives with her grandmother. Her grandmother, unfortunately, dies. This is what causes her mother to come back into her life. She wasn't really fond of her mother, of course. I mean, who would be fond of someone that leaves them and abandons them, and that you can feel doesn't love you? She really didn't want to go to St. Louis initially, but she wanted to get out of the country. Me as a Southern woman, I've been living in California for a long time, probably longer now than I did down south growing up. But as a Southern woman, I can relate. I wanted out of there. I wanted out of there. I would do anything to get the hell out of the South. So I can relate because I'm also from a very, very small town. You probably haven't even heard of it. So she goes to St. Louis to be reunited with her mother and her sister there. And while there, she sees this guy in the newspaper. And his name is Ike Turner. Her sister is a beautiful woman, as she describes in the book, vivacious. She has a very nice, personal life, social life. She goes out a lot. She knows guys in the Cadillacs and guys with the money, rolls in their pockets. So she's intrigued about this Ike Turner character. And so one night she goes out with her sister, Aline, to see Ike Turner and his Kings of Rhythm in a club. I just want to say Ike was the man in those days. He was the man. He had the big cars, the house, the big house, the diamonds, the girls. Also, he had the Cadillac, And to blacks, back in those days, especially a Cadillac is like a Rolls Royce. Ike was the man, okay? And she wanted him. Which brings me to my next point. Tina went after Ike. From what I gather in this book, and from also what I've seen in interviews here and there, she knew what she wanted, she saw what she wanted, and she went after it, and she got it. It wasn't easy because Ike wasn't into her. Ike liked thick girls. He liked big thighs. He liked big boobs. He liked big booty. And Tina was not much has changed, right? In terms of guys and black men since then, they still love all that. The thickness is still in. Um, but Tina didn't have that. She was very skinny. She was always slim, but she was very skinny in those days. So I didn't pay her any attention. She wanted to be his singer. She wanted to sing. He wasn't even interested. He didn't believe she could sing. He paid her no mind. She was not his type. And she claims that he wasn't hers. But I don't know about that. Maybe he wasn't her type, but he definitely was in terms of the things he had and the life he could provide her. And she went for it. She was almost, dare I say, almost like a groupie, his groupie. She said that she sat there night after night in the club, waiting to see this Ike, trying to get his attention. And of course, he wouldn't pay her any mind. And one night, he heard her voice. So her sister was dating a guy in the band. And in the club that Ike would perform in, they would pass the mic around, during the intermission. And the girls would sing. He would try to find a female singer. And he would usually give the mic to women who were his type of woman, voluptuous type girls, beautiful women. And but they couldn't sing a lick. And so Aline, Tina's beloved sister, is offered the mic by her boyfriend, who is a part of the band. And Aline was timid. Not only that, she couldn't sing. And but you know who could? Tina, whose real name is Anna Mae Bullock, if I didn't mention that. Anna. So what did Anna do? She snatched that microphone and went to work. When Tina started to sing, everyone in the club rushed in from outside. Ike was shocked. This is her definition of shocked was, gosh, the word she used in the book, I don't know if I could say here, but Ike was shocked. He loved her voice. And this is a point that I always try to say to my friends and to any woman, really. You don't have to have this or that to get a man's attention. There are other things that could get his attention. Ike wouldn't look at her because he didn't like the way she looked. But he loved the way she sounded. And guess what? She became his wife. So, that's pretty incredible. Just her talent alone got her that man and changed the course of her life. So that is 6. 7. Before I go to 7, I just want to say, in this club, Tina tore the house up. I mean, I know people. I live in Los Angeles, so I know people who know people, and I've heard things about that night and stories. And to say that she brought the house down is really an understatement. Tina Turner was conceived that night. The conception of Tina Turner was on that stage when she yanked that microphone from her sister. So 7. 7. One night, right, when Tina is staying with Ike, they start to toy around a little bit. Well, actually, before that, she becomes a singer. I'll say that. 7, Tina becomes Ike's singer. She's involved with a man named Raymond Hill. Her first son's biological father, Craig, R.I.P. Craig. She loved Ike. Ike and Tina were very, very close at this point. Um, from that night when she sang and brought the house down on, they were like that. They were two peas in a pod. And you could not see one without seeing the other. They were very much so platonically in love. But when she wanted romance, she found it with Raymond Hill, the sax player in Ike's band. She had a baby with him. And as I said, all this woman knows is abandonment. He abandons her. He leaves town. Her mother kicks her out. Her mother is upset that she's pregnant. She has nowhere to go. Again, could you imagine that? You grew up not having anywhere to go, not feeling like you belong anywhere. But who took her in? Ike. So she's living in Ike's house. And he taught her everything. He taught her everything about music. She said they had so much fun together. He was very, very good to her in the beginning. There was nothing that she could have asked him for that he wouldn't have given to her. She actually said, in quote, that if Ike liked you, he'd give you the shirt off his back. And I thought that was pretty profound as well. She began dating Ike because here she is in this house. She's now his singer. So not only is she his singer, now she's his woman because Raymond has abandoned her. And she's living in Ike's house. He has a woman already, Lorraine, but he had countless women. Lorraine wasn't his only woman. But Tina became his girl. And so she's his woman and his singer at this point. The sax player is gone. And Tina became pregnant with Ike's child, Ronnie. R.I.P. Ronnie. So now they're a couple, and he's treating her as such, as his girlfriend. He's buying her diamond rings, furs, beautiful dresses, with the gloves. You know, at that time, the gloves were in. She felt beautiful. He really made her feel special. I believe he was the first person who honestly built her up in her life. We all know that he later on tore her down, but initially, he's the first person that made her feel so special. And I thought that was very profound and beautiful. It's unfortunate what happened between them and with their families. But nonetheless, he embraced her in such a way that she promised. She promised, no matter what, I won't leave you. If we get a hit record, a song, I won't leave you under any circumstances. And she meant it, and she didn't. So, they did get that hit. fool in love, and the Ike and Tina Turner review is born. So Ike comes home from the record company. He's very excited. He shows Tina the record, and he gives it to her. And he says, "Here's the record." And she says, "Who's Tina?" Because she's still Anna Mae at this time. And he says, "You're Tina." And she hated it. She hated that name. Her name was Anne, and she wanted to be Anne. So at this point, her instincts, she had already been around Ike long enough to see the things that she didn't like about him. And she wanted out. She didn't want to change her name to Tina Turner, and she didn't want to tour. So this is the first time that he hits her. The first time he hits her, and he doesn't hit her. He doesn't slap her. He doesn't choke her. He doesn't. He didn't pull her hair. He beats her with a shoe stretcher. And she's very traumatized at this point because she grew up watching her mother and father fight, but she said she'd never seen a person, especially a woman, beaten in such a way. This marks the beginning of her being afraid of him. And also that shame. You know, we as women, we harbor resentment and shame. There's a shame about domestic violence. You know, you don't tell your girls, "Oh, guess what? He beat me up last night." You know, that there's something very deep about that shame. It goes to your core, especially if you do indeed love the man. And she did in the beginning. He beat her with a shoe stretcher, and right after beating her, she's really down. She's starting to cry, and he's cursing her out, telling her that she's like all the rest, calling her all types of MFers, and just the worst, a nasty scene. There's blood. Her head is swollen. What comes next? He orders her to get in bed to have sex with him. Could you imagine? She said that oftentimes a beating with Ike, sex would come before or after, which is really, really disturbing. There's another scene that I want to mention because I don't want to forget, involving wire hangers. He beat her with wire hangers. People always want to discredit this woman and say that she's lying. And well, Ike Turner actually wrote about that in his own memoir. He admitted that he beat Tina with wire hangers. She never lied. He admitted that he punched her. He said that he would punch her to the ground without thinking, end quote. So she didn't lie. She lived a very, very painful life. Very, very sad. Also, she said that Ike would say to her, "You know, Anne, I'm sorry. Anne, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I did that. I'm sorry for this. I'm sorry for the way I've behaved or the man I've turned into." But she knew he wouldn't be sorry for long. You know, he beat her so much and so often that she tried to take her own life. There was a suicide attempt, and when she woke up, the first person she saw was Ike. And she said, "Oh no," she really, really wanted to leave. The nurses tried to revive her. Um, the doctors tried to revive her. They could not revive her. But when Ike went in and started to talk to her, she began to wake up. I thought that was profound. Um, Tina also, she said that she knew Ike in another lifetime. Um, that's deep too, right? Also, 10. I want to think about the fact that this is a time where segregation is it's a thing. You know, there's colored signs, white only signs. Um, you can't go into certain restaurants and eat, right? Because we won't cook for you unless you're white. There's an incident where this is quite funny, actually. There's a woman there in a restaurant, Ike and Tina, and their entourage, and they're eating or trying to get something to eat. And there's a white woman inside, and she's telling them, no, you're black, the N word. Well, I never saw Tina as this timid, shy character that she was portrayed to be in the movie, if I'm being honest. Tina is a Sagittarius, and she's a very fiery woman. She's very strong. No weak woman could have survived her life, right? And so this scene was a testament to that. So they're in a restaurant, and this white woman calls Tina a black bitch. And fiery Tina, is so upset that she's trying to get at this woman. She's trying to kick her ass. She's trying to fight her. And Ike, ironically, is holding Tina back from jumping on this white woman. And she says, I might be a black bitch, but guess what? I'm a pretty black bitch. Catch it. I thought that was so funny. It's hilarious. I can't imagine Ike and Tina at a restaurant and Tina is being held back by Ike. That's pretty funny. So 11. The domestic violence, it continues. The hits, they keep coming. But Ike and Tina, they couldn't really get airplay. They get a hit and then they couldn't get another hit for years and years. And then they get a hit and then they couldn't get another hit for years. So what really kept them paid was the relentless touring. They toured relentlessly because Tina was dynamite on stage. And that's what kept them paid. But because of this, and Ike is using drugs by now at this time, the domestic violence is getting worse. He's also a notorious cheater. He has all types of affairs with her friends, with anything moving, she said. Ike would screw anything moving. Blatant affairs. And Tina said that these affairs hurt her more than the violence. And that's proof that emotional, verbal abuse is just as painful as physical, right? That's proof. Finally, Tina had enough of living with all of her sister wives. She lived with these women. Ike kept all of his women around. They were Tina's friends. They were the Ikeettes, the backup dancers and singers. They were the secretaries. Tina says that Ike would buy her something and she, start to get that feeling back for him, but then she'd see another woman walk by wearing the same thing that he just bought her. So what an ass. What a complete ass he was to her. And she's living in this way that's like she's a sister wife, basically. And they all have the same name. Anne. Every woman in his orbit was named Anne, which is her name. And you can't make that up. You just can't make this up. Finally, Tina leaves. She's had enough. Um, she runs across a freeway in order to escape Ike after being beaten to a pulp by him. Um, he falls asleep after one of his cocaine binges. He falls out, and Tina makes her great escape, and she runs across a freeway. I can't imagine running across a freeway. What a monster he had to have been for her to run across a freeway in order to escape him. But she does, and she did, and she made it out alive. 12. This was a big revelation to me. I didn't know that Tina was ever on welfare. She was on food stamps. There were lots of hard times after leaving Ike. She struggled for a while. And it wasn't simple. Ike stalked her. He harassed her. He tried to kill her. He blew up cars. He shot guns through her homes. He was crazy, to say the least. The man was crazy, and he admits in his own book that he set out to kill the Tina Turner. And people still have the nerve to take his side. That I'll never understand. But, moving on, Tina did anything to survive. She did anything to survive. She played B-list shows, B-list performances. She went to Vegas. She created a Las Vegas act for herself. She was very happy because she was just happy to be away from Ike. And of course we could all understand what that feels like. Just the peace of being away from this monster. I may not have maids anymore. I may not have a cook, but I have my peace of mind. So there's a particular story that I found to be revealing. Tina did Hollywood Squares. She would do any show to get a few dollars. And this shows her great illiteracy, if you will. Imagine how brave this woman is. She was terrified. She's already insecure about not knowing much, not reading well, not being able to count very well. But yet and still, she goes onto a show like Hollywood Squares. This kind of gave me an insight of her boys and why they became estranged the way they did. Tina probably got maybe one answer correct. It's a clip on YouTube actually, and the host asked her, "Where's Ike?" And she says that actually it threw her off, and I imagine it did. But you can find that here on YouTube, her in Hollywood Squares, and she maybe got one answer correct. Everything else she got wrong. Well, her boys are men at this point, or damn near. They're teenagers. And they laugh at her. Could you imagine your own boys you're doing all this stuff for? Uh, Ike is the one with the money. When she left with nothing but her car and her name, 36 cents in a gas card. Um, but yet and still, all four boys, her two biological kids and Ike's kids, they all lived with her. Well, they laugh at her after watching the episode on of Hollywood Squares and called her an idiot and an ass. They go, "Yo, mom's on TV making an ass of herself." Mother, actually, they called her mother. Mother's on TV making an ass of herself. I could imagine how deeply that hurt her. Um, it's so messed up, right? Um, but she would have done anything to survive. So fast forward to Tina's big comeback, her big success in the 80s, right? In the early 80s with Private Dancer album and the number one smash hit, What's Love Got to Do with It? Her music is hugely popular in Europe. Actually, before the big comeback, Let's Stay Together, her version of Al Green's Let's Stay Together was released. I love that song. And her version of that song in Europe. And it was huge there. And Tina is huge in Europe. She's a big star here in America. But a lot of people don't know that how big she is, just how big she is in a lot of those European countries. I mean, she's like Michael Jackson. And she used this success in Europe as her excuse for moving there. But in her book, she admits that she actually moves there for the great man and the love of her life, Mr. Irwin Bach, who later became her husband. She kind of admitted that that's the real reason that she gave up her American citizenship for her man, which I always kind of sensed anyway. I'm going to just talk briefly about the movie. We're now at 14. So, briefly about the movie. Tina Turner hated the movie. She didn't like the movie at all. She didn't have a say about the movie, not much. She chose Angela Bassett. She did like Angela. I don't think she knew how buff Angela Bassett was going to get to portray her in that movie. I mean, Tina Turner has always had a very strong physique, right? Very toned body, but she was never a bodybuilder. She never looked quite the way that Angela looked in that movie with the muscles. Sometimes on some of those scenes, I cringe. Angela Bassett did a great job portraying Tina Turner, but she did not look like Tina. No, she didn't look like Tina. There are a lot of inaccuracies in the movie. People blame Tina for that, but they shouldn't, because she never left out these things in her life. Before the movie even came out, she wrote a book, which I mentioned in the beginning of this video, entitled I, Tina, and she tells everything. She talks about her first child being born by a different father. She speaks about her fiery temper. She admitted that once She saw a girl trying to get at Ike, and she picked up a whole table and threw it at her. There was a woman also on stage who was a prostitute saying that she was Tina Turner. Tina was in the hospital having a baby, and she's like, I'm not going to have a prostitute saying that she's me. So Tina gets out the hospital, whoops her ass. I mean, these are things that she admitted in her book. So Tina herself never claimed to be this innocent, timid creature that is portrayed in the film. I'm sure that the way that Tina speaks of the movie, because she says she didn't want to see it, she didn't want to be reminded of her past. And we can all understand that. But as an actress myself, I could imagine that Angela Bassett was quite hurt by that revelation. That's pretty deep, to really work hard to portray someone and to try to do them justice. And they don't even watch it. But it's understandable if you have such deep trauma. By the way, I don't know if I believe it. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm sure she watched the movie. But she says that she never watched the movie. She gave up her American citizenship. She became a Swiss citizen later on in life. She had a deep, deep love, incredibly deep love for Erwin Bach, who is German, and clearly that love was reciprocated. Because when Tina was sick, he gave her a kidney. And I just want to speak about that briefly. Tina, shortly after retirement, which went well into her 70s, Tina was in her 70s when she retired. This woman was still on stage rocking it out. So when you think about health, good health, you think about Tina Turner. She's the epitome of Black don't crack. She's the epitome of success, of Black beauty, of aging well. So her health issues shocked me. And it wasn't just one or two conditions. Tina had a stroke. She had cancer. She had kidney failure. She had vertigo. Shocking. Because Tina is ageless. Of course, she passed away. And when I think about her death, celebrity deaths don't really touch me. I'm not really fazed by them. There were only a few that really touched me, and that was Whitney Houston, Aretha Franklin, but Tina's absolutely broke my heart. And people are saying, oh, get over it. She was 83, 84 years old. But no, I expected Tina Turner to live to be past 100. I mean, Tina is ageless, or excuse me, she was ageless. When I speak of her, I still speak of her in present tense because her life force is that strong. She was ageless, and it breaks my heart that she's not here. But incredibly, she survived all of those things. So she didn't die from the stroke or from cancer or the kidney failure, immediately. Tina went years struggling with these things and surviving these things, as well as everything else that she had to endure and survive in her life. How incredible. Um, and she wasn't bitter about it. Remember that Tina was a Buddhist. And in Buddhism, we know that uh, you live and you die, and death is inevitable. It's an inevitable part of life. And if you've had a life such as Tina's, um, sometimes you're tired and you're ready to go. You know, you're at peace with that. Um, but um, I heard Tina talk to Oprah about her sicknesses on a podcast on Apple a while back, and she talked about the fact that she wasn't depressed because she didn't feel sick. She wasn't sick. However, in the book, she says that in fact she was miserable and that she was so sick that she could barely even hold her head up. So when I think of that, it hurts. It's painful to me to think that she went through that type of pain. Um, I mean, it's heartbreaking. Um, Also, when Tina was struggling with her health and on her sick bed, she said that Ike haunted her. She could feel his presence. She thought a lot about him and how he was in the beginning, because keep in mind he was very, very supportive and good to her in the beginning of their relationship. So she she felt his presence, and she thought a lot about Ike, which made me think that that her love for Ike was still there. You know, there are times when we as women we have to walk away from you because we know you're no good, but that doesn't mean that the love is gone. Um, Also, Tina had a lot of regrets. If you read the book, or if you listen to her last interviews, you'll see that there were quite a few regrets that she did have. So I wonder um, if she indeed regretted some of the things about Ike. I don't believe that she meant to ruin Ike. I don't think that she would have ever went public with the story. Um, I don't think that she meant to ruin him, and I don't think that she did, actually. He ruined himself by being a drug addict and by being as reckless as he was. Also, karma is real. Um, when she left, he had everything. He had the money, he had the house, he had the cars. And actually, I went to the house. I lived in Baldwin Hills, which is where Ike and Tina lived. View Park, Windsor Hills, in the Baldwin Hills area in Los Angeles. I've lived in View Park. I've also lived in um, the Baldwin Village, the jungles, the Jays. Shout out to the Jays if you're from LA. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Um, so I went to the house once and was shocked to see that it was exactly how it looked in the pictures and on the movie. Um, the same furniture was in there. The same everything was there. It had never been remodeled. Um, the house was literally abandoned. So Ike ruined himself. Tina did not ruin him. No, she didn't. And I don't think she wanted to. Um, Going back to her sicknesses, Tina was so sick, and this is 15. Uh, 15. Tina was so sickly over there in Switzerland that she contemplated assisted suicide, which is legal in Switzerland. Um, this is like something you do. It's almost like a sad puppy, right? A sick puppy. If a dog is sick, um, you take him to the vet and they give you a shot, or they give the dog a shot to put the dog down, and the dog peacefully drifts and goes away. Um, so she considered this. This is when Irwin stepped in, and Irwin tells her that she didn't have to do that. If I have to give you one of my kidneys, I will. And he did just that. Um, what an amazing husband, right? She went from kissing a frog like Ike Turner, like Harry in high school who broke her heart, like her first baby daddy who abandoned her, and so many other guys, I'm sure, that are love affairs that we don't even know about. Um, and she found her prince, and she lived out the remainder of her life with him, her husband, Erwin Bach, um, her widower now. Um, I don't want this to be so too long. So the book closes out with the tragic death um, of her son. Now, I don't want to give away too much, which is why um, I wanted to put some history here that we all already know about, and some revelations that I didn't know about, so I know a lot of you guys don't know about. But Tina closes the book out with the tragic death of her son, Craig, who unfortunately committed suicide here in California. Um, and Tina said that there were many tears. She was heartbroken. She actually lost both of her children before she died. So her son, Ronnie, which is the son she had with Ike, he died 6 months before she did. Um, I think that she just couldn't, she was really heartbroken at that point. Could you imagine being sick yourself, trying to deal with your stuff, and then these blows hit you? Um, and obviously, she suffered with a lot of regret in terms of her children. Um, she regretted being on the road so much, especially when they were children, um, and not being in their lives the way she should have. So I'm sure that there was some guilt there as well. Um, the pain, I'm sure, was overwhelming. Um, but she says that there were many tears, and she was indeed heartbroken. Um, now, I believe that Tina was very happy, um, very happy for a long time. Um, People often ask me, because I am such a fan, if I believe she was happy when she died. Um, I don't know if I would use the word happy, and that's okay, because when you think about it, the word happy is not in the Bible at all, um, or other religious texts. It's not in there. But peace is often in every religious book or faith. That is a word that is often mentioned. And peace is what I do believe she had when she passed. And what more could you want or ask for? That's what we all strive to have, is peace. And God willing, um, that's how I will go. That's how all my loved ones will go, with a peace of mind, surrounded by love, surrounded by beautiful things. She lived very well. Um, so I do believe she was at peace at the time of her death. I don't believe she was happy, because Um, like I said, she had just recently lost both of her blood children. Um, but what a life, right? What an incredible life. And that is often what comforts me in terms of Tina Turner and her passing. She's seen it all, she's done it all. This woman climbed the Eiffel Tower in her heels. She danced on a moving crane in her heels. Um, she definitely received her flowers as well while living. That's another thing that's comforting. She's not one of those stars who died not receiving the love or recognition that she deserved. She got that love and she felt it, and that's very comforting to know. Um, so now she's reunited with her beloved sister, um, her mother, who she did still love dearly. Um, um, Her beloved sister Eileen, her mother Zelma, and her two sons, Ronnie and Craig. And who knows, maybe she even reconnected with crazy ass Ike in the afterlife. Um, who's to say? Um, Tina believed in reincarnation as a Buddhist, so I just want to throw that out there. She was not a Christian, so the concept of heaven um, but she was a Buddhist, so maybe she'll come back to us one day as a star again, because she'll always be just that, a star, and will always have the music, her her words, um, her beautiful photos, her incredible mark on music, um, and her inspiring life story, which is what I get more than anything. I don't want to give, like I said, I want to give a lot away from the book. Um, I'll just go. I wanted to give some of the surprising elements of the book without giving it away too much. So I'll just leave it here. But what I will say is, what a legacy and what a woman. What a woman. She often said that she wasn't beautiful, but you were, dear. You are beautiful, Tina. I'm still speaking about her as if she's still here with us. Um, you were not only attractive, but you were beautiful. And her legacy to me, what I get from her life, is the strength of a woman. When I think of Tina Turner, I think strength of a woman. Never give up, no matter what life throws at you, no matter how many times you fall down, no matter how many times you get bruised, as long as you don't allow yourself to be broken, miracles can happen. Um, Everything that she endured and survived, incredible things that she overcame that the average person could never. The sicknesses alone. She lived years. Um, she lived years more than someone who was sick um, should have. That's a testament alone, and just how strong and incredible she was. But to me, for me, that's what her legacy is. The strength of a woman. Never ever give up, no matter how many times you fall, get up. Also, no matter how old you are as a woman, never give up. It is never over, and you are not old. Tina Turner came back. She had her big breakthrough well into her 40s. Um, there's this thing going on YouTube now. They're telling you that you're nothing, as a woman. Your value um, lessens the older you get, or the more children you have, or which is ridiculousness. The older you get, the more wisdom you have, the better you get. That's what Tina taught me. She looked better as an older woman, I believe, than she did, in her youth. Um, in her youth, she looked beautiful, beautiful. So what I get is to never give up, no matter how old you are. These men will tell you that at 27, you're old. At 28, you're on clearance. At 29, you're 80% off. At 30, hang it up. It's just not going to happen. Nobody wants you. It's bullshit. It's ridiculous. If nobody showed me that, Tina Turner did. This woman came back at almost 50 years old, became a rock star, way bigger, enormous, way bigger than she was with Ike. She was on tour in her 40s, in her 50s, in her 60s, in her 70s. She was sexy. So I learned to always embrace my age, embrace the future, and that is what her legacy is for me. Now, I don't want to end on a sad note. I want to end on a positive note. I want to list my favorite 5 Tina songs. So, if you have your favorite 5, I would love to hear them in the comments. Please tell me. But for me, of course, Proud Mary and What's Love Got to Do with It is like the Tina Turner anthems, right? So those are obvious favorites. But I would have to say I love the song Crazy in the Night. That voice of hers is incredible. I love Crazy in the Night. If you've never heard it, check it out. Number 2 for me would be Love Thing. This song is so sexy and hot and smoky. Love Thing is number 2. Simply the Best, number 3 for me. Number 4, I would have to say Steamy Windows. Right? It's a bit naughty. But Steamy Windows is number 4. And number 5 is a beautiful song called I Want You Near Me. Every time I hear this song, I feel good. It's just a feel-good, beautiful, beautiful Tina song. I Want You Near Me. So I have way more than 5, of course. But those are probably my top 5 that I could think of. So tell me your favorite 3 Tina songs in the comments. I would love to hear them. And that's my review on Tina Turner's My Love Story. I read the book. I also listened to the audio because I'm the type to be trying to read it in the bathtub and I'll end up ruining the book, getting it wet and everything. So I listened to it on audio as well. I'll probably listen to it again one day. So get your copy. It's a fabulous read. Again, rest in peace to the incredible Queen of Rock and Roll, Miss Tina Turner. I love you forever. Mwah.